Hey everyone, it's Nichol Spohr here today for Hero Arts, and today I'm excited to share these love-themed cards in a card showcase featuring the My Monthly Hero January 2020 main kit and add-on Cup of Love. Both of these cards feature a pink, peach, and aqua, or mint, I guess I should say, color combination. My first card that I'm going to share features this beautiful floral bouquet in a paper wrapper with a happy Valentine's greeting. This card was made completely from the main kit. I absolutely adore this kit and I can't wait to show you how I colored in these flowers. All of the florals were die cut from some smooth white cardstock and colored in with Copic markers. You can use whatever your favorite color medium is. I just opted for Copics as they are pretty quick and easy. I absolutely love coloring in flowers with these markers. Again, I opted for kind of more of a soft, understated color combination. So these first flowers are colored with R000, R01, and R02. This gives that kind of peachy vibe to these flowers. The other color combinations are going to be a peachy red, which is a little bit deeper and darker, and then a pink that really kind of ties back into the pink wrapper that we're going to create here in a second. I'm coloring each individual petal. The great thing about the Hero Arts frame cuts is they die cut and really give you kind of a guideline, almost like a stamped outline would give you. So it really helps when coloring in the images. Now for my stems on the flowers, I'm using that mint color combination, which is G000 and G02. Any of the colors kind of in that range of markers in the Copic family are some of my favorites for that mint color combination, and I really love mint with my Valentine's colors. Next, I'm going to take just a quick break and go ahead and stamp up the floral bouquet wrapper, which I've already die cut from Hero Hues Peony Cardstock. I'm then taking that text background stamp from the main kit and stamping that on the folds that will fold in to create our floral bouquet wrapper with Hero Arts Cotton Candy ink. This is a tone-on-tone effect, but I love that subtle text, which you guys, if you follow me at all, you know that I love a subtle text background in all things. So this really gives a nice texture to our wrapper. I wanted to see how it was going to look with my flower inside, so that's why I kind of took a hard left turn there and went ahead and stamped up that floral bouquet wrapper. Next, this is probably one of my all-time favorite Copic color combinations, R30, 32, and R35. Love these colors together. It's a very peachy red, but I absolutely love it. I also had to take a little break here to refill my R32 marker as it's a little dry. You can always tell which ones I love because those markers really need refilled quite a bit. Again, the stem for this flower is going to be colored with mint colors in G000 and G02. If at any time you're wondering exactly what colors I use to color in the different elements for this card or the next one, you can find those colors listed across the bottom of the screen. I always try to include this information in the video as I'm working so that it's easy to follow along. If you want this and want to refer back to it, please click the link in the video here in the box under the video on YouTube, and you can go to my blog, and I have listed out the different elements, the different flowers, and then the color combinations there. So if it goes too fast in the video format, you can always refer back there. And I often, and I'm really trying to do that more here in 2020, list those colors out for easy reference for you guys. Now, the greenery for my floral bouquet, I actually use a color combination that I have not used a lot. I really wanted something soft that worked well with the colors I'm using, and I tried something new. I have not used my YG11 or YG13 markers much because I don't really know why. I often kind of go towards some different colors. You guys, I think that might be one of my favorite color combinations for leaves. Especially soft leaves. Think Valentine's, Easter, any of those things coming up, you're going to see me use that color combination a lot because I absolutely love how the leaves turned out. Now this smaller sprig, I think it actually could be flowers, like little cute little buds of flowers. I actually wanted more greenery in my bouquet, so I'm just going to color those all in with the same YG11 and YG13 markers. But keep in mind that some of the other design team members have really created some other bouquets and colored these more as little flower buds, and they're absolutely stunning like that as well. So my bouquet is getting a little bit more full. I need to color in a few more flowers, including this little bud. I actually think I could have done several of these to fill in, maybe even a couple more larger flowers. I really like the little ones as far as how they fill in areas amongst the bigger, bolder florals. Another thing I want to note really quickly, I did not use all of the floral dies or butterfly dies that come in this kit. It's absolutely amazing. You are getting a ton of dies. I believe 14 frame cuts, if I'm not mistaken. There's a mini envelope, there's this bouquet wrapper, there's 2 butterflies, the side-facing, or the side-facing butterfly, and then the full front-facing butterfly. Lots of leaves, flowers, buds, all the things. So you can really create some stunning, very stunning designs with these dies. I did do a couple of this particular flower. I love repetition. So I think, you know, if you want to create a really full bouquet, that's a great way to do that. Just repeat some of the flowers that you've already done, especially if some of the designs speak to you more than others, which for me, I kind of felt like these all went together really well. And so I kind of just stuck to this, but there are some additional florals in the kit. I just want to make sure that you guys know that since I'm not featuring them here. Okay, now that I have my flowers, let's go ahead and color the butterfly. And I definitely wanted to do something different here just to make the butterfly stand out. I wanted the side-facing one so it kind of looks like it's sitting there up on top or kind of setting on one of the buds. This is Y11, Y08, and then E79 for the body of the butterfly. Really, really soft. I didn't even color clear out to the outer edges of the butterfly wings. I wanted to keep those kind of white. And then I'm taking the tip of my Y08 marker and adding some dot detail to the areas of the butterfly. Again, because these frame cuts die cut with the shape, it's so easy to color or add detail in each individual little area. It's not just a die cut shape without that depth and dimension. I'm going to take a scrap of the Hero Hues Cherry cardstock and stamp one of the sentiments from the main stamp set. We're getting a 4x6 stamp set this month. Loads of fantastic sentiments. They are not all Valentine's themed, so you can definitely create lots of different kinds of cards, but I am using Happy Valentine's Day for this one. I'm going to stamp that with the Embossing and Watermark ink, heat emboss with Hero Art's White Fine Detail Embossing Powder, and then I'm going to die cut this with the banner die included in the main kit. So you're really getting everything you need to create some stunning cards here. Now, because it die cuts only one edge with that flag banner, I actually ran it through once, flipped it around, and ran it through again, so both ends of my banner has that notched edge. I'm going to create a patterned tone-on-tone background now for my card using a 4 by 5¼ inch panel of cherry cardstock, and I am stamping tone-on-tone using Hero Art's Strawberry ink and using some of the postage or cancellation images from that 4x6 main kit stamp set all over. I went ahead and placed these on small acrylic blocks from my stash, and I'm simply inking them up and stamping them all over the background. They're a little bit darker when you initially stamp them, but as that ink dries and is absorbed into the paper, you're going to have a very muted tone-on-tone patterned background, which I think instantly adds interest to the design and gives it a little something. I'm going to glue the back of my floral bouquet wrapper to my background now, and then very carefully and slowly start adding in my flowers using liquid adhesive. These are pretty dainty designs. Liquid adhesive really, I feel, works the best. I want some of those leaves and things hanging off the sides of the front of the bouquet wrapper. I am not going to glue that down in place until I kind of have my flowers all put in the the way I want them to look, I guess, filling that all full with these beautiful florals, kind of trying to balance out with some red on the left, some on the right. The red is definitely the darkest of the flower color combinations in this card, so I want to make sure that's balanced. And I want to tuck greenery in all over the place so that really pretty YG 11 and 13 color combination I was talking about, I want that filling in all the little areas. And once I have it the way I want, I'm going to go ahead and glue that flap down to secure my floral wrapper. I'm going to adhere my banner then with the sentiment to the center of that bouquet with foam adhesive. And then we're going to adhere the butterfly with foam adhesive as well, and finish with some crystal lacquer, little dewdrops on some of the flowers and the flower centers. We'll place this panel on a white top fold card base so it has that nice white border all the way around. Next, I'm sharing a card with the Cup of Love add-on. I absolutely love this, and I thought it would be really fun to create a card with multiple coffee cups and the carafe, just to make for a really fun card. I love, love, love the hearts tumbling out of one of the mugs. We're going to create that wonderful pattern along the bottom edge of the card first, using 4 shades of cardstock and a 2 by 5.5 inch smooth white strip. This is actually a little bit wider than what I ended up using. I think it was about 2¼ inches, and I'm going to trim down 1/4 of that. It was a little too tall for my card design, but I am simply taking 1/4 inch strips in Hero Hues Peony, Azalea, and Cherry cardstock, and a mint strip from using Simon Says Stamp Mint cardstock, and I am creating a pattern. I love diagonal patterns because I think they're really forgiving. You never know if it's not straight or not. That's one of the reasons I love diagonal patterns. Plus, I think it just adds a lot of interest here. So I am just repeating this pattern all the way across. I am using some 1/8 inch double-sided adhesive to adhere my strips to this panel. This is a fantastic way to use up scrap cardstock in your stash. I love creating pattern papers like this. You could also create all over patterns with die cut shapes if you wanted to. There's so many different ways to use up those scraps for fun patterns. But this is going to add a beautiful decorative edge along the bottom of our card, and then we're going to stamp and color the coffee cups and things for the top part of our side fold card. Once I have all of my strips adhered, I'm just going to trim off that excess. You will notice that as I get to the corners where I don't need as much cardstock, I'm actually going to trim off these excess strips and use those little excess pieces to fill in the area. So I actually ended up with leftover cardstock strips that I can use for another project because I didn't really have to use everything I trimmed down. So any of those little pieces there, I can usually fill in little areas here and there. So there is my pattern paper strip. We will set that aside for a minute and stamp the images from the Cup of Love stamp set. We are using 3 coffee mugs in the carafe plus the spoon with a heart in it. I'm going to stamp these on smooth white cardstock with the Hero Arts Intens-ified black ink. If you are looking for a fantastic black ink to use with your alcohol ink markers, I really love and recommend this ink. I also love the original Intense black ink from Hero Arts, but it just gives you that intense, beautiful black line, perfect for coloring. Once I have these stamped, I am ready to start coloring in my images. Again, across the bottom of the screen at any time, it will show you exactly what colors I'm using. And I have also listed these out on the coordinating blog post for easy reference. The hearts in the first mug, I wanted to use all three of my color combinations, very similar to our first card. Both cards really feature a lot of the same colors and marker colors, with the exception of a little bit darker pink to tie into that Azalea cardstock that I'm using for this card. But I'm just actually grabbing a couple of ink colors a little bit deeper and darker than the pinks that I used for the original card. So this mug is going to be the mint mug, which is G00000 and 02. And then the hearts will all be that peachy pink, kind of peach color, and then the pink. And I'm going to just alternate and repeat that. So hopefully I don't have any two right next to each other. I did color them one by one, which is a little bit more time consuming than just picking out a whole bunch and coloring them with those markers. And that's because I didn't want any of the same two to be right next to each other. Now the one pink heart there, I did leave it mostly pink. That's the RV 11 and 10, but I will pull in kind of near the end of the video. I listed it here so you know that I used it, but I pulled in a little RV 14, which is a red violet, to deepen and darken that a little bit. Not quite as dark as what we're going to end up coloring in the mug in the top left corner there on the screen, but kind of in between. And this is probably my favorite image from the stamp set. I really love that mug full of hearts and them tumbling out. And in addition to that, I love the spoon that also has a heart in it. I think that's just really, really fun. The sentiments in this stamp set, I opted to use Overflowing with Love because I wanted to use that directly on this mug. But there's also Sending a Cup of Love, You Fill My Cup, You Make Everything Sweeter, and Sending a Bit of Happiness, as well as Yum. Amazing sentiments. I love the fonts for this one, and I can see myself using this stamp set a lot. I am a coffee drinker, and I think it's just a really fun and happy stamp set. I love, if you guys have followed me for a while, you might already know this. If you're new, then you probably don't, but I love Valentine's. I love Valentine's decorations. I love Valentine's stamps. I love Valentine's colors. I don't know what it is about it, but I just really love it. So this stamp set speaks to me. In fact, the stamp sets this month, the add-ons, the main kit, all incredible. So I'm just going to continue coloring these in. Again, lots of repetition from the colors you've already seen, but I have listed them. So as I'm coloring, hopefully you can see that for reference to see exactly what I'm using. I am very pleasantly surprised with how awesome these colors blend together. Love like the peachy color with reds and mint and pink for a little bit more of a modern Valentine's vibe, I guess. I really like that. Then we're just going to give the band around the top of the craft a little bit of the peachy pink, which is our 30, 32, and 35. And then I'm going to move on to the final mug. And what I want to mention about this is it just wasn't working for me great. And I don't really know what it was. I felt like I needed to pull in that darker azalea type color somewhere in my coloring. So while I love this color combination of RV10 and 11, I actually opted to play with a couple of darker markers, which end up being RV 14 and 17. And at first I was like, oh, I just ruined this image. I'm going to have to restamp it. But I kept playing with it. I kept blending it out. And I ended up being super happy with this particular mug because I think it does tie into our pattern paper strips a lot better than just the initial two colors. So that's kind of my thought process with this and how I achieved this without having to restamp that image. And then this is when I took that RV14 and went back down to the hearts in the first mug we colored and added a little bit of color to those. Now for the hearts in the mug, again, are 30, 32, and 35, so they're that peachy red color, or reddish peach, whatever you want to say. And then for the foam in this mug, I used E43 and 40 just to give it a little bit of shading and color. And then we are ready to die cut these. I think if I would do this again, I say this all the time, but it happens, I would have stamped Overflowing with Love on the mug first and then die cut it, but I didn't. So I am going to go ahead and glue my pattern paper strip to the bottom of a side fold card base. And then we're just going to tuck our mugs and carafe right there along the edge. And I like them tipped a little bit for a little bit of a whimsical feel. I really enjoy how that looks. So let's go ahead and take our mug, place it in a MISTI so that we can control a little bit where we stamp that image. I do want to stamp it with the Embossing and Watermark ink and heat emboss with white embossing powder. And then in addition to that sentiment, I'm going to stamp 2 more phrases from the main kit, Hello Friend and You're the Best, on Cherry Hero Hues cardstock with the Embossing and Watermark ink, heat emboss those with white embossing powder, and die cut those with that main kit banner die. So the main kit really just is a great base for the whole month where it ties in beautifully with the other add-ons. I'm going to use a powder tool on my mug first, stamp that Overflowing with Love sentiment right there on my mug, add that white embossing powder, and then heat set with my heat tool. I love white embossed sentiments. I think they're just classy, and it really ties in beautifully with all of the white on this card. So we've got our mugs now. Move that out of the way. Let's go ahead and adhere our mugs, and then we'll come back and add our banners at the end. And I want to glue these down. I'm using the Hero Arts Precision Glue, liquid glue, to just glue my mugs in place. And I want to make sure that some of them are in the foreground. So especially this one that's my favorite with all the hearts. I don't want that heart detail covered up. So that's going to be more in the foreground. I want to kind of lay them out before I commit to where I'm gluing them. And then the spoon is going to lie kind of on that seam between the pattern paper and the white and mugs along the top edge. In the Cup of Love stamp set then, there's the steam image that can be coming off any of the mugs, but I felt like it would really fill in that mug over on the right side the best, and so I'm going to actually add that using the Intens-ified black ink. And that's going to be stamped directly on the card. We've already adhered everything to our card base, so I'm just going to stamp that right there. And it does fill in that area really nicely. And I'm going to just take a single marker and color in those parts. As long as you're not super saturating the cardstock, it will not bleed through a heavyweight card base. And I am using a 110-pound card base here. So I just used my R35 to color those little teeny tiny hearts in the steam in, and it did not bleed through to the inside of my card. I am now covering the hearts, any hearts on the image. So that's going to be the hearts in the mugs, the hearts in the spoon, and the hearts coming up out of the steam with crystal lacquer. I love the Hero Arts crystal lacquer for a glossy raised finish. If you do not have this, Glossy Accents also works really well. Just adds some nice definition to little parts of images and things like this, and I love how it turned out. And my crystal lacquer kept getting clogged for whatever reason. I have never had that trouble before. Anyway, so I'm just going to finish filling that in. There is a little bit of dry time here, so I would recommend probably letting it sit and completely dry for maybe an hour or so. I'm going to set this aside now and finish stamping my sentiments for my card. Now I also need to trim off anything hanging off the edges, including the handles for the 2 mugs on either side. And then I'm taking that scrap of Hero Hues Cherry cardstock, stamping the phrase "Hello Friend" and then the phrase "You're the Best" from the main kit right on this scrap using the embossing and watermark ink. I did prep my cardstock with a powder tool first. We're going to sprinkle on the Hero Arts white embossing powder and heat set these phrases with our heat tool, and then die cut them with the banner from the main kit. Now, just like from the main kit, only one side of that banner is notched, which is fine if you want to use it that way. I especially like that look if it's coming in from one side, so the straight edge goes along the side of the card and then the other end is notched. But because I am not, I want them to be kind of in the center, I'm going to die cut it one way, take that die cut piece, flip it around, line it up with the notched end on the straight side there, which you'll see here. I'll come back to the screen. I'm die cutting. And then run it through again to give both ends that notched look. I love this banner. It's really the perfect width. Obviously, it's made to work with the sentiments from this stamp set, but it will work with lots of sentiments from Hero Arts, from different stamp sets. And I really just like the width of this. I think it can be used with lots and lots of sentiments that you probably already own at home. Once I have both of my phrases die cut, I am going to take these and pop them up along the bottom edge of my card with foam adhesive. This is really going to just finish off the bottom edge of the card. So we did add or create our own stripe pattern, but most of what's going on this card is in the upper half of the card. You know, it's got all the mugs and things. It's pretty colorful and busy. So this just ties it all together really nice. Making the overflowing with love, yes, that could be the sentiment for the card, but it kind of just gives the mug that kind of like a text mug. So it's more of a decorative element rather than the sentiment, and then we're adding the sentiments along the bottom edge of the card. And I'm grabbing some of these thin foam adhesive strips and just gonna snip those down to size, and then we're centering these in the bottom half of the card. You could use, there's lots of sentiments. Real quick, I'm going to go through them. There's "Hello Friend," "I love you," "Thinking of you," "Congratulations," "Sending my love," "Happy Birthday," "Happy Valentine's Day," "Thank you," "Get well soon," "Deepest Sympathy," and "You're the Best," "For You," and "XOXO." So you're getting loads of sentiments that work with this strip in the main kit. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for these cards featuring components from the My Monthly Hero January 2020 main kit and add-ons. The supplies I used to create my cards are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more videos featuring My Monthly Hero Arts cards that you might be interested in. Thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll catch you next time.